Maybe you are part of the modestly wealthy who finds themselves lucky enough to have some extra money and you want to put it towards a real estate investment because you heard that real estate investing is what can build passive income and generational wealth. But you live in the West Coast or maybe the Eastern Seaboard where housing prices, home prices are incredibly high. What do you do then? Well, today I'm going to talk about why I invest and will continue to invest out of state and the reasons why I'm doing this. Let's get into it right now. If we haven't met before, my name's Doug Varinas. I'm a licensed real estate agent in Washington and Oregon. I'm also an accredited investor. And today we're going to talk about out-of-state investing and why, if you live in an expensive West Coast or East Coast market, you may want to consider investing out of state. So the first reason that I like to invest out of state is the price point. Because look, with a median sales price here of around $500,000, investing in real estate in an expensive West Coast market is exactly that, expensive. And so in a lot of cities in the Midwest and the South, you're looking at price points anywhere from 250 to 300 to 350 max. And so you're really able to get in at a lower price point. And that is great for an out-of-state investor coming from an expensive market like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle metro area. So that enables you to get your foot in the door without having to pay those exorbitant prices. So price point is going to be my first reason that I like to invest out of state because it gives the moderately wealthy a sort of foot in the door in these markets. The next reason that I like investing out of state is going to be cash flow. So because there's a lower price of entry, but the price to rent ratios are still relatively high, you're going to cash flow pretty well. And it's not uncommon to cash flow $300 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot. So I'm going to be talking primarily about single family properties, single family homes. And $300 when you're doing your numbers conservatively is a pretty good amount every month. And again, you're looking to scale that into more rental properties. And then eventually you can stack into multifamily where you can start getting more and more cash flow per door. And that's a strategy a lot of people use to build wealth. Cash flowing $300 a month when you're running your numbers very conservatively is a great position to be in. And so I like cash flow, and you should always make sure your deals cash flow. Do not buy a deal that does not cash flow in the hopes that it will someday. That typically ends up in disaster. So if you are watching this video so far and you're like, I'm sort of interested in investing out of state, how do I do that? I am currently offering my services for free. This isn't going to last long, but if you're looking to invest out of state, I can hook you up with properties that I do the analysis on. I have links and I have relationships with the professionals you're going to need, real estate agents, property managers, insurance agents, all the team members you're going to need if you're going to invest out of state, because each one of these people becomes exponentially more important as you go along. So if you're looking to invest out of state, but you don't have a lot of time to do this stuff yourself and you're looking for kind of a white glove service, I am happy to help you. And for a limited time, I am doing that free. What you're going to need to do is just book a chat with me in the links provided to my TidyCal. You can schedule a chat, no biggie. If you even want to comment, consult in the comments below. We can make this happen. So investing out of state, we've got a lower price point and we've got cash flow. The next reason I like to invest out of state is legislation. And this is becoming more and more important. When I first started, it was a little bit wacky and now it's just getting really wacky. So cities like Portland and Minneapolis and San Francisco, you're getting crazy regulations that are just going above and beyond rational. And so we're seeing a lot of rent control and rent caps and basically the inability to evict anybody for any reason out of your property without giving them like cash for keys. So the legislation has been crazy. And that is driving investors out of these markets. So perfect for you if you're living in a market that's expensive. And then they're also getting wackadoo legislation that makes it harder to cash flow and to be a successful real estate investor because your tenants are trashing the place, they're not paying rent, and there's no way to get them out because the legislation is super tenant friendly. So legislation is a big reason why I like investing out of state, in that you can do your due diligence and your research on which markets are going to have landlord friendly legislation. And this doesn't mean you provide some cruddy product that people aren't going to live in and take advantage of people. That's not what I'm about. That's not what you're about. But when people don't pay the rent, then it enables you to get them out, because them living there rent free is stealing from you. So legislation is another reason I love out-of-state investing. The next reason I like out-of-state investing is demographics. You hear about this all the time. So people are leaving these states because they're overregulated, they're overtaxed, they have their hand in everything. So they're just overregulated, and people are beginning to leave because the quality of life and the expense. So it's one thing if, like, 2 decades ago you were living in California and it was expensive, but you were like, hey, look, it's expensive, but man, the lifestyle's so great here. The weather's great. People generally leave me alone. That's a price you're willing to pay. But now it's like a double whammy, because not only is it expensive, but now it's becoming unlivable because the excessive homeless populations, the general sort of anarchy vibe, like it's okay to steal, it's okay to shoplift, and it's okay to riot, and it's okay to, like, they're becoming more and more lawless. And so the quality of life is going down, because if you have kids and you're exposing them to danger, basically. And I've seen this in Portland when they had the open air drug markets. Thankfully, they've getting rid of those. It's still around, open drug use. And so they're just becoming unlivable. And so when you get a real estate market that's expensive, it's unaffordable, and you get less livability, and companies are leaving these places. So they're leaving places like Washington, like, Seattle. You just saw In-N-Out leave California for Tennessee. And so it's a perfect storm sending people elsewhere. And when they go elsewhere, well, where are they going to want to rent? Where are they going to live? They're going to live in your place. And so the demographics suggest that more people are going to be moving from these very expensive, highly regulated urban areas and states to places in the Midwest, in the South. That's the demographic shift that we're seeing. I expect this to continue. It might even be exacerbated by the fact that, look, housing is just unaffordable. But if you move to some of these cities in the Midwest, in the South, where the median price of a home is $250, like Fort Wayne, Indiana, Oklahoma City, in the past, these places might have been backwaters where you're like, especially if you live in the West Coast, you think the whole middle of America, or at least I did, tends to be some sort of wasteland where there's nothing going on. There's no restaurants. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. It's pretty ignorant to think that. And when you get on the ground, like when I went to Columbus, Ohio, a few years back, when I thought it was like, oh, it's going to be the most boring place ever. And it was awesome. People were great. They had a bunch of breweries and restaurants. It's a college town. I didn't know anything about it, but I presumed to know about Columbus, Ohio. I knew nothing. Oklahoma City, another place that seems totally awesome. Vibrant restaurant scene, businesses moving there, development happening, because they're not regulated and the prices and the cost of living are lower. And so if you're a 25-year-old and you grew up in San Francisco, or you grew up in Los Angeles, or you grew up in Seattle, and you just can't get a foothold as far as like buying a home, you have more options now, especially if you work remotely. And even if you don't, a lot of the corporate heads are moving to these places. And so I see that shift happening more and more. It's something I would do if I was in that position. I'm Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Yeah, I'm going to move somewhere else. I'm going to move to a place where I can afford, that has a higher quality of life. And so I think that demographic shift is going to continue. And so that's another reason I like to invest in out-of-state places, because in the end, like, I want to buy places where I want to live and I think are good places. And so these cities like in Atlanta, Georgia, Columbia, South Carolina, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Cincinnati, Ohio, like I mentioned, Oklahoma City. These are all livable, really good places to live with affordable housing and a fairly high standard of living. Are all of them going to have the best job options? Depending on what you do, right? So, but if you're in the medical field, there's always a place for you. If you're doing sales, if you're doing tech, a lot of times that's remote. Again, you have a lot of options. So why not take advantage of them? The last reason is appreciation. Now, look, because of the reasons I just mentioned, like, I expect that these places might experience asymmetrical appreciation, because before you bought here because it was low price of entry and it was cash flowing, like I mentioned. So these were considered cash flow markets. But now Cleveland, Ohio, in the last year, something has appreciated more than the national average by far. It's like 8%. And this used to be considered a cash flow market where you weren't going to get any equity, like your equity appreciation was going to be limited. But I think we're going to see that happen less and less, because if Cleveland can go up 8%, a lot of these other places can also go up if they haven't already. And so while you're seeing softening in these markets that are kind of overbought, like a Phoenix, Arizona, where's another one like an Austin. So these were places where people rushed to, and from California, and the prices got bid up. They're starting to come back down to earth, which is a good opportunity too. But a lot of these other smaller towns, and I'm thinking like, Raleigh, Durham area, it's a little more expensive, but you're seeing a lot of appreciation there. So I don't think you need to sacrifice appreciation for cash flow. I think you can get them both in these markets, and they might be more asymmetrical the more people move there. So we never know what's going to happen, but these are the reasons why I love investing out of state if you live in an expensive real estate market like Oregon, Washington, California, New York, maybe Boston. It's going to be that lower price point, the cash flow opportunities, the favorable legislation, the demographics, more people moving there, and finally the appreciation. I think that we've turned a corner and we're going to see these places appreciate just as much as anywhere else. Again, if you want to schedule a free consult with me, if you're interested in investing in a place like Cincinnati, Ohio, great choice, Cleveland, the greater Atlanta area, Oklahoma City, I mentioned Fort Wayne, Indiana, Raleigh area, schedule a consult with me and we can talk about how we can make that happen, because it's a great opportunity to do that right now, just given how the market is softening. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you found any value in this, please gently tap the like button and consider subscribing. I appreciate you and hope you have a wonderful day. See you on the next episode.